Welcome back, everybody. Stoyan here from the main stage at World Summit. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And now that we know where are Silicon Valley's 2.0, some of you might be wondering, should I move to Kiev? Should I move to Estonia? Perhaps Poland? But there lies another question, which we'll try to answer at our next panel. And the question is Central and Eastern Europe already a global cluster of innovation? For this job, I have just the right people, and I'm super happy to introduce on stage Ana Cretu, the head of social banking department of BCR and Innovex BCR, co-founder. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a hand.
Thank you.
Corona high five. Amazing. So the stage is yours. You can sit yourself comfortably and feel free to introduce.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for watching us. Actually, I want to introduce now my special guests, but special guest is not a proper word to describe them because we are all one team here. So I will invite now Alina Irma Orban, country manager at Microsoft Romania. Hello, Alina. I will continue with Lenuța Alboaie, director of the Doctoral School and I-Transfer Center at Computer Science Alexandru Ioan Cuza University, that's correct. And we will be having online two other special guests. I'm talking about Sergiu Manea, CEO of Banca Comercială Română. Hello, Sergiu, and thank you for being with us. And last but not least, Alex Mihailciuc, Vice President at UiPath. Thanks a lot for being with us and for accepting this invitation. And yeah, I think I have to start with this. We are extremely happy and grateful for having the opportunity to be present with Innovix BCR as a CEE innovation track partner at the largest tech event in Central and Eastern Europe. Therefore, Wolf Summit, thank you for having us. Thank you for organizing this. Actually, we are more than 30 people from Innovix BCR present at the Wolf Summit conference, and we are having a really great time, so thank you for that. Now, secondly, to put a little bit of context in this Innovix BCR, Innovix BCR is a tech business accelerator which started in Romania 3 years ago following a co-creation process between Innovix on the one hand and Banca Comercială Română on the other hand, the strongest financial institution in Romania and part of a CEE bank which is Erste Group Bank AG. And although our headquarters is in Bucharest, where we are centering our activity in scaling up Romanian tech companies and developing innovative ideas, with the help of our international partners who are also present today in this panel, respectively Microsoft and UiPath, now, and due to our hybrid way of working, now we are able to provide tools, top education curricula in business, and the right connections and opportunities for all the CEE tech entrepreneurs who want to scale up and who are also envisaging Romania as a potential market to scale up. So yes, I'm Ana, I'm dealing with innovation and impact financing, both in Banca Comercială Română and in Innovix BCR. And today I'll be moderating the panel which is called ECE, already a global cluster of innovation, alongside with Alina, with Lenuța, Alex, and Sergiu. So this panel comes into the following context. While the pandemic has certainly caused its own set of problems, in many other respects, it simply accelerated some trends and some changes that were already happening. And nowhere is more apparent that is with respect to technological innovation, which has gone into overdrive and simply declared some players as the winners of this period because they were already riding this wave and because they put on the table something which makes people's lives better. So I would use this intro as a kickoff for our panel today. In general, I start with the ladies because we all know about the gender gap which is in technology, but now looking more closely to our panel, it looks like that at least today we are as an exception from the statistics. So with Lenuța and Alina permission, this time I would start with Alex Mihailchuk, one of the founders in UiPath and a co-founder in Innovix BCR Tech Business Accelerator. Alex, thanks a lot for being with us. Now, I'm not going to ask you how UiPath managed to come seemingly out of nowhere, because in point of fact, we know that this is not true. Everybody knows already UiPath's story. Actually, UiPath name, it was the first company name I heard in the first day at the first panel at Wolf Summit. So yeah, and you didn't come seemingly out of nowhere. It was a company which was established 16 years ago in Bucharest and did its IPO in a pandemic year at New York Stock Exchange. But I think I would be more curious to ask you, Alex, what made you as a person, like Alex Mihalchuk, what made you choose UiPath of all other tech companies out there, especially that at that moment, UiPath, it was just a Romanian startup. And the second one is, how do you see from UiPath these global trends in innovation, in technology, and how can Central and Eastern Europe can contribute in fostering this innovation global cluster? Thank you.
Hi, so I would start actually, Anna, with a very common question these days, which is like, am I audible?
You,
Am
you
I?
didn't hear me? Yes,
No,
sure,
no.
sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, okay. So thank you first of all for having me as a guest here. I'm really honored. And I would start by saying, UiPath was at the time I joined, which is like almost 5 years ago, was a very small Romanian company, right? I didn't even heard about it, right, when I was still already working with other RPA vendors back at the corporations I was working at. However, I did join one of the Bucharest Tech conferences those days, where this amazing guy out of nowhere, Daniel Dines, right, showed up, right, and made a presentation, and we spent some time over a glass of wine afterwards, and that's what convinced me on the spot that I want to work for this startup, for this technology, right, and I immediately believe that this technology can scale and can have the success that we are experiencing right now. And that was just his amazing personality, his amazing vision, right? And also the depth and let's say innovative technology that he was putting and starting to develop back then. I think regards to trends, right, technology and innovation trends, we are seeing a lot, and obviously UiPath, is a company that now has tons of technological partnerships. So we can see out of our partners and out of the market demands a couple of trends that really emerge in today's world, especially in the pandemic situation that we've been living with for the last 2 years by now. So I will just name a few. I think one of the biggest let's say mantra and pillars is do more with less, right? Because I think in that perspective we are seeing a big shortage, right, of workforce. We are seeing challenges and this pandemic that has literally affected the human workforce and their working conditions, right? And in this conditions today, we are looking for higher productivity. So for that, I've seen any kind of task automation or of process mining, task mining type of technology being very off the charts right now, right? We are also seeing a lot in IoT, right? Because the pandemic has put a lot of stress on production, right, and shipment, hence planning more accurately, having less errors in production, giving a higher output, has made space for the IoT technology. Last but not least, I would say, because again, or through the specific, right, of the crisis we are dealing with, is the social technologies, right? Because people were restricted from their natural habitat, so to say, right, of being together, being social persons. So they had to find an alternative. So I'll say any type of social technology is again a trend right now. Anna, back to your last last point, right, of CEE, right, the impact of CEE. I have to tell you that I'm extremely grateful to be part of the Innovix BCR team and be a founder to this. And immediately when, a very good friend of mine, Danny, actually asked me a few years ago, I was immediately on board because I strongly believe that the CE community can create and can be one of the world's wealth of innovation, right, and of technical talent. And I think UiPath has proven this, right? And we have seen after UiPath success a big ramp up, right, in accelerators, in conferences, in people actually talking about technology, talking about innovation. We have seen much more academic, right, investments, which I believe Lenuța will touch upon. So yes, I was a strong believer, even in the early days, that CE can and actually look. I really believe we are already seen as one of the biggest centers right in the world for technological innovation and advancements. Because look, we are talking almost daily with VCs, right, investment funds, banks, and so on and so forth, and immediately, right, we are on the map. Whilst if you look 4 5 years ago, it was really hard, let's say, to draw the attention of these big funds in terms of technology, especially in Eastern Europe. So I do believe, yes, we are already there, and I believe we can, yes, do much more through the hard work of accelerators like Innovix BCR, and as well as also pushing a little bit
Oops. It was technology sometimes is for the good, sometimes is for not that good. Alex, thanks a lot for this intervention. Actually, I was having in mind another question, but now what I took with me from your intervention is the following thing. Starting from UiPath example and building on what Alex just said, that they made robots so people didn't have to be robots. I think we may highlight the fact that the future of work is human, the future of work is creative, and the future of work is social, because technology will be accelerating human achievement by empowering the people to delegate the work to the robots so they can focus on the work they actually enjoy. So maybe we can put an equal sign between technology and happiness. I think it would be great if we are still online with my guest to continue with Sergiu Manea. He's the CEO of Banca Comercială Română. And I'm going to ask Sergiu if he's still online to build a little bit on this topic, on how the region is capitalizing on its creative people, strong technical education, and emerging technologies in order to foster our region, innovation cluster of innovation, what Alex just said, and what culture do we need for that. Sergiu, if you are with us, I give it to you the word. Thank you.
Yeah, sure I am. I hope that you also see that Alex is back. So I think if you want to ask him the question you wanted to ask him, which would have been the conclusion, it would be really great. So Anna,
Yeah,
it's your call.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask Alex if Innovix BCR would have been useful for UiPath 10 years ago.
absolutely, absolutely. We wish we would have not made, and learned by mistake and the mistakes we've done. So running to an accelerator like Innovix BCR would have definitely helped us avoid some of the nerves that we've consumed right over all these years. And then sorry for the cut. I had a small power cut, so.
Nah, no worries. We are glad that you are all back. Sergio, now I give it the word to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So I first and foremost regret I'm not in Wrocław. because I actually miss people. As you can see, I'm sitting in my office and I'm wearing a mask, which is always great. My office meaning my desk, because we have an open floor. And I love your red shoes. I really love them. So hopefully we will
We are
get
a
something
team.
like this as well. Now, if we are looking at at your question, I would actually like to put a little bit of a more sober view, if you like, in the context. I think it's too early to tell. I think the effervescence we are witnessing now in Central Eastern Europe has very little to do with the things people like me did already, but rather with the fact that there is a very young population with a very good and very solid education, and actually, especially people from the urban university areas are really encouraged by the good examples and by the role models, which unfortunately for now are coming rather from Asia and from US. I think there is much more to do before we will be able to say we are not anymore only a talent pond for the global innovation or for the global ideas. We are really an innovation cluster. And I believe that in whichever attributes of a contextual space one may create, there is a lot to do. I think, starting with the education, we need to be much more decisive in growing numbers and growing depth. I think we should not look only at the tertiary education. We should look at the dual education, encouraging and creating innovation context, technology and data context. And I'm pretty sure this will be done. I believe we need maybe before a fiscal union in Europe, we need a digital union and an innovation union, and we need a single capital market. We need to make sure that basically European startups are able to actually reap benefits of the things they did here in Europe. And last but not the least, and slowly, I'm getting to the point of people. It is very important that this context, at the end of the day, will also drive significant change across communities, across enterprise space, and across, if you like, state branches in terms of using innovation technology as a way of being. We doing that in order to solve problems, as Alex was saying, I believed in that idea because it solved problem and I saw it scaling up. I saw I'm resolving a problem. We have so many problems which can be solved with the help of, as I said, innovation, data, and tech. It's enough that basically we are putting ourselves into a change menu, if you like. But if you look even at the company I'm part of, um, there is a lot we can learn. For us, actually, it was not the drive which I mentioned before. We need to contribute the way we can to moving our society and our communities, let's say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after. It's also a matter of change for ourselves. We learn enormously from the companies whom we help being incubate. We learn what maybe fast mindset is, maybe what innovation mindset is. We learn to actually by observing them the very things we do. But there is one point which I think makes us better beyond this pragmatic context which I mentioned. Uh, it's actually none of the people we've seen in the Innovix are defensive people. None of them is defending their mistake. All of them are accountable, are responsible. They have the ethics of innovation and the ethics of work and the ethics of change. And this is what we learn. And I think this makes us better. It makes us better to a point that I really hope that one day we are going to be consumers of many of the innovative solutions which are coming from there, that we will be able to actually not only open up, but open up and invite others. We traditional companies, we are hardwired with regulations, but the world expects from us that we are hardwired with common sense and with the willingness to create impact. And this is our journey now. So how shall I put it? 67% now to the numbers, as I'm a banker, right? 67% of the companies in European accelerators, right? They expect that the large corporations, traditional industries, and also the new industries are going to be consumers of their products. Well, my very, very dream is that we will live up to this expectation, because it is us, the traditional world, which needs change. And I'm very, very happy that we do have role models like the companies, the people, the ideas we see in our incubator to inspire us, to inspire us. So this is what I had to say, Anna.
Sergio, thanks a lot for this inspirational and aspirational intervention, but also pragmatic in the same way, I would say. And your intervention would give me the chance to continue now with Lenuța. Lenuța is director of the Doctoral School and I-Transfer Center at Computer Science Alexandru Ioan Cuza University. I think it's worth mentioning that she is with us today and is part of our team, because for Innovix BCR is very important this area of technological transfer, and we really intend that at one point in time to manage to support also the spin-offs coming from universities' R&D. So Lenuța, thanks a lot for being with us and for being part of our team. I will be very, very straightforward with the question, and I'm going to ask you, what's the real positioning of the universities when discussing about innovation, and how do they contribute to this mindset, innovation mindset, and tech talent development Sergio was mentioned earlier? Thank you very much.
Thank you, and actually, thank you for having me here. I will continue a little bit to what Sergio mentioned. We have an educated and pro-business community, and the skills and the abilities of our students, of our community, comes from, I can call it, a knowledge square. And the peaks of this square are formed by education and research, and of course, the university roles in this part is clear. And of course, innovation, and I like to say service to society, which means also companies and industries. Let's start with education, and I'm not speaking just from my faculty of computer science because somehow I'm representing here the university from Romania. So I will come with examples. Usually, we really take care about our curricula, and actually we align it to the international trends. As example, we have for more than 12 years a cloud computing course, so it's something. We have also, from 2017, we have a blockchain course. And this phenomenon, it happens in all top universities from Romania, from Iași, Bucharest, and Cluj, and Iași, of course. So we really take care about the education of our students to be able to engage in innovation, in project that has innovation behind. Of course, we should go to the research part. In my position as a director of PhD school, I noticed in the last years a trend of, let's say, a translation between fundamental research to applicative research. So somehow, I'm not saying that we don't need fundamental research. Of course, we need it. But meanwhile, we need industrial research and also applicative research. So it's somehow this trend is natural because we have invitation from industry to have collaboration between us. Another thing that I should say about collaboration among universities is that we have a consortium and we have meetings from Iași, Bucharest, Cluj, and Timișoara, and we have meetings twice per year. And in these meetings, we share our best practices from each area. And in this way, again, we can have the best measure for each region. Also, I can say about, because Sergio mentioned about growing community. From what I noticed in the last years, I saw an increased interest from the high school students to come to faculties with IT profiles. So we have, I don't know how to say, a lot of students that want to attend to our classes, a lot of them. Anyway, we get the best, usually, yeah? And one other thing that I want to mention to you, if you are looking on Informatics Europe statistics, you will see an increased number of degrees at bachelor and master level in Romania. So again, yes, we have an increasing community, and step by step, I suppose, we will create the middleware for innovation, a stable one.
So if I understood correctly, iTransfer is a technological transfer inside the university, right?
Yes. I'm also, in the last 5 years, actually, I create a strong collaboration with, actually the collaboration is built 15 years ago, in the last 15 years. But the iTransfer is a technological transfer center in our university, and in this center we succeed to create 9 prototypes, actually 9 products together with 9 companies, and well, let's say these 9 products are using the research results that we obtained in our university. So the researchers actually, they put their research not just at theoretical level in just articles, but they put it in real products. So this is an important step for research. What I want to say about, I saw, and of course we are looking with a lot of admiration to UiPath. Alex, yes. So
I think Alex is texting with Sergio because they are not looking at us anymore. But you can tell us about UiPath in the collaboration with iTransfer.
Of course, we can give examples to our students. Yeah, and we'll give this kind of examples to our students. But let's face it, real. And Sergio puts the real accent on this. We should realize that, yes, in university, we don't have yet any spin-off. And I hope that together with Innovix and with the right agents, the right persons, I think we will succeed in the next, and maybe in at most 2 years, to create a step or to create a path. Yeah, to create a path in order to create a trend for spin-off in universities.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I really enjoyed your intervention because I really consider that the universities play an important role in this topic and in our endeavors of localizing our region as an innovation cluster. You also mentioned a lot about the collaboration between these kind of centers and multinationals, and I think I would like now to invite Alina Orban, country manager at Microsoft Romania. Alina, please do tell us what's the ambition of a multinational at local but also at regional level, because we are regional already, so it's not about Romania or a specific country. And how do you relate to all these topics Lenuța, Alex and Sergiu were mentioning?
Thank you very much, Anca. It's actually an honor for me to be here today with everybody, and a privilege, I will say, because I'm in this exclusive panel. which is actually an inspiration for all of us. So building on what Sergio and Lenuța was saying about the tech talent, I'm impressed and proud that in Romania actually we have the biggest amount of STEM population in CEE, 43%, more than the 30% the average. Actually, this coming from the strong educational system that we are having, which is also generating the next generation of startups and partners. Currently at the CEE level, because we are not necessarily regional, we are global at Microsoft,
Right.
we analyze the fact that in CEE, we are having the fifth amount of IT-specific population, developers population in the world. And which is bringing me to say that proudly, being a Romanian, Romania is the fifth country in terms of IT specialization in the world after countries that are not US, China, or India. So the tech talent and the pool and the education is here, and it's actually visible, and we are already expanding more and more. And I'm thinking right now to connect the dots a little bit with what Mr. Dinesh was saying to his stakeholders, that the hidden advantage of creating a business in a small country like Romania with no market, it's actually an advantage to think globally from the beginning. So right now, I think that we are in the middle of a huge progress in CEE, and this is, I think, a synergy between educational system, between global companies like Microsoft that are putting a lot of emphasis on the startups, and accelerator like Innovix BCR. And I'm reflecting a little bit also in the previous panel, where everybody was saying that why not to have the CEE as being the Silicon Valley 2.0? I think that we are already there, because I saw some studies that are saying that in the last 6 years, actually CEE created 34 unicorns, and one decacorn, of course, we have it here with us, Alex. So I think that in this we are very, very keen on creating new and more startups that are becoming unicorns. And here Innovix, together with Microsoft and together with UiPath, I think has a crucial role. And I want to congratulate you for this, because in the last 3 years, only in Romania, you have accelerated 100 startups. Out of them, 27 are already having solution in Azure Marketplace, which is a global market. And out of those, already 2 of them are global. So I think that putting the synergies together and doing this co-creation process will be the next future for our region. And not to say, because I was announced that we have 5 more minutes, so I need to speed up. I have all the time this ugly task to condense my speech. I want only to say that Microsoft, being a global company, and having the vision to empower every company and every citizen to achieve more, it's actually collecting the uniqueness of all the countries in CEEs in order to accelerate their growth and in order to monetize on the momentum that we are having right now. And I will not say more. I have a lot of things to add, but I think that each of us, we are responsible, especially in this environment, to create an environment that is digital friendly, to monetize the fact that we have a strong educational system, and to maintain ourselves responsible, not only for the learnings in the university, but actually for the skilling that we need to learn and to adapt to the new era in order for us to be indeed perceived as the next Silicon Valley. Thank you very much, Anna. I will give you the final word because I know that you have a lot of things to say about Innovix BCR Accelerator.
No, actually, I really thank you, and I want to hug you because actually you sum up all the panel's discussions today. So I would not tell too much in the end. Just thanks a lot, Alina, Lenuța, Sergio, and Alex for being here with us today and for being each day with us. Maybe just to say in the end that if we raise your attention with Innovix BCR, and you are a CEE tech entrepreneur who wants to scale up alongside with global partners like Microsoft and UiPath, you can apply on innovix.eu by the end of October. We have a call to action in place now. And for the ones who are attending offline the Wolf Summit conference, we also have an Innovix BCR corner at the 4th floor. Just not to spend more time here, although we want to do that, but someone is looking at me very straightforward, so I don't want to continue. Thanks a lot. We are really happy to be here, and as you may see, our energy is quite high. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Sergio and Alex.
Thank you.
Hello, once again here from the main stage. I hope you guys enjoy the previous panel, digging into the innovation system of Central Eastern Europe. I have a bunch of gentlemen here with me on stage and a couple more online, and it's a very interesting panel that you're going to witness in just a moment. So basically, what should be the role of universities in boosting the startup ecosystem? So sit yourself comfortably and deep dive into the technology transfer. I would like to introduce our moderator for today, Stefan Koriter, the founding partner of Grey Ventures. Stefan, the word is yours. Enjoy yourself and have a great panel.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can see me and hear me. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Stefan, as has been introduced. And I'm super excited to be sharing this panel discussion because it's an important topic that remains highly unexplored, and still not many universities, venture capital funds, or governments are active in the space of technology transfer. And if it's out of focus, it's definitely evolving much slower than it could. And before we jump into the conversation and me presenting today's panelists, I would like to share with you some quick high-level stats around the process of technology transfer in one of the best one of the best 3 countries where technology transfer has been actively promoted and supported by the ecosystem stakeholders. And that is, according to the most recent Weizmann Institute of Science, which is powering the YEDA Technology Transfer Office, nearly 2,000 patent families have been registered by YEDA and 73 companies were spun off, generating a cumulative of $28 billion in sales. Also in the US, over 71 billion USD dollars were spent in the federally sponsored research at universities in 2018, in the US alone, like I said, and approximately 2.94 billion in licensing revenue was generated in the same year, directly from the process of taking academic inventions to market, otherwise known as the technology transfer. And now I would like to start. I would like to kind of present our speakers today and have a deep dive into the conversation. Today, I'm joined by 4 experienced professionals and investors that have had contact with this model and can help us get a better understanding of the European technology transfer landscape. Introducing Joran Biengarde, which is founder and CEO of Dealroom, a global data platform for intelligence on startups, innovation, high-growth companies, ecosystem, and investment strategies. He will be joining us from Netherlands, and I will be as well sitting in Barcelona currently. And our 3 other panelists will be in Wrocław. Introducing our second panelist, Peter Cowley, a serial entrepreneur, parallel angel investor, and currently President Emeritus of European Business Angel Network. And this is not the only kind of 2 titles that he has, but definitely most important. Introducing René Ebert, Managing Director of the CEEB, which is the Digital Business Association of Berlin-Brandenburg. And our last panelist is David Dana, Head of Tech VC Investments at the European Innovation Fund. So, hi, Joram, Peter, René, and David. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, Stefan. Thanks for inviting us.
Just before we jump into the conversation and kind of set my scene with my first question, I would like to remind the audience that they could drop questions in the chat and connect with you, the speakers, after hearing our conversation and during the conversation. And also after the session, by using Brella, the platform powering our matchmaking this edition, they can freely jump over there and start booking their meetings. So. What I would like to start this conversation by saying that TTOs have matured mostly in the US, UK, and Israel, and the benefits are extremely visible in comparison with the rest of the Europe. And my first question would go to Peter. Why do you think that is happening? Why is this gap between, let's say, the large European countries and the other top 3 countries?
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. So just a little bit of background. So I'm mainly known as an angel investor, and I've invested in over 70 companies, of which 17 have been university spin-outs. I live in Cambridge in the UK, so clearly I've got more contact with Cambridge, but there haven't always been spin-outs of Cambridge. The reason that, and of course, most of my information and knowledge and experience is in Cambridge. So the reason Cambridge does so well in the UK, and the UK obviously does pretty well within Europe, whether we belong to Europe or not, we do geographically, even if we're not, even if Brexit has occurred. Cambridge does well because it takes a relatively small share of the company on spin out. So it'll take only about 5%, and any more share than that it will buy. It'll buy that from its own funds, from the seed funds. It'll buy that from other funds associated with the university. So after the first round, the university will probably only own about 15%. From experience of other universities around the UK, that can be very much higher, like 80% or 90%. So I don't think it's in any way because Cambridge or Oxford or the London universities are any better at having, great technology or great academics. It's just the way it's treated. The academic entrepreneurial people are treated, and the technology is treated for making it available for investment. And that's the big difference, I think, is that there is a better way of investing in a UK startup out of university than it is around Europe. Hope that helps.
Definitely helps, Peter. And most probably we're going to come back to you as well with a follow-up question. Before moving on to maybe the let's say into more details, I would like to stay at the high level and ask you, Joram, to give us a bit of a perspective on how the European technology transfer looks from where you sit, because you sit at a in front of a dashboard of data, right?
Yeah.
So how does it look from where you sit?
Yeah, sure. So at Dealroom, we've done extensive research on the university spin-out landscape in Europe, and actually, right now, the combined value of university spin-outs has ballooned to more than $180 billion, which includes bio and tech. That's the most valuable university spin-out right now, but there's companies like Celonis, Lilium, and to Peter's point, a lot of those companies originate actually out of this golden triangle: Oxford, Cambridge, London, especially in kind of the biotech and using AI to develop new medicine. But there's also a lot of spin-outs coming out of Germany, especially from Technical University in Munich. I think bio and tech is a great kind of torchbearer, let's say, for the spin-out movement, if you can call it that, in the sense that it's a really typical spin-out. They were working on new technology that was very far from being able to be commercialized. Talking about 2008, they were able to develop that over 10 years with the help of university, but also with help of government, and obviously in the end, now it's a transformative platform that can not only deliver vaccines, but for COVID, but also cancer and HIV, etc. So I think that shows the potential that's kind of embedded in Europe's research centers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joram, for that. I would go to my next question, and this question is for René. René, you sit at the intersection between government officials, IT companies, startups, universities, and all these important stakeholders from the ecosystem. What is your take on the expectations from universities, from IT companies in the context of technology transfer? How these stakeholders would like that subject to be approached?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for the question. And I think you are very right, Peter, what you're saying, that from my point of view, from a German perspective, Berlin perspective, UK is what, in terms of bringing universities and companies together, way ahead. I studied a long time ago in Glasgow, Caledonian University, and even there, back in times, I had this impression that they are working very close together with the local companies around the community, the business community. And yeah, in Berlin, I see it that way. It changed over the recent years, and nowadays, I guess every bigger university in our region has some kind of, they call it startup lab, whatever. They founded a team on the university to connect to the local companies to be more efficient for the teams they are trying to set up startups out of the university. By the way, we have 14 employees, and one of them, Christian, unfortunately, is not here today. He has actually 2 jobs. 50% of his jobs is working for a university in the city center of Berlin. It's called BBW. You might have heard of them or not, doesn't matter. But 50% of his time, he is the head of this startup accelerator at this university, and 50% of the time he works for us at the IBB, at the IT Association. And that's a perfect fit because he brings in the knowledge from the university, and we have the direct connections to a lot of companies in Berlin. And personal point of view, additionally, is from my point of view, it's all about people. If you have in the university, it's an academic board, people who have a track record in companies, then they know how to do it and they want to do it. But I also know people from universities, they have their career all the time. They started as a student, then became an assistant and belong there to the university since, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years. And they have a different approach, another kind of view. So it's better if they had an earlier stage, career stage back in some IT company, from our perspective as an IT association, and then go maybe next step to a university, then they bring in their own network to the university, and that's the much better approach from my point of view.
Thank you for that, René. I would like to ask David, and this is my fourth question, an individual question, and I will go then with my later on question to all the panelists. But before that, David, you have been for the past 11 years as part of the European Innovation Fund team. What can you tell us about how the market of technology transfer has changed over time? Maybe specifically what has changed?
Sure. Just the I for EIF is for investment, because that's a good mistake, I would say, because we make the link between innovation and investment. So yeah, indeed, at EIF we consider that the technology transfer area is part of the overall VC ecosystem. We do not make a clear distinction stating that tech transfer is only about research. This is mainly about research, but specifically what is maybe missing still in Europe, and coming back to your initial question, this transition and transfer from the research, pure research, fundamental research to the market is something which is maybe more a question of mindset. And by mindset, I mean at two levels, at the level of the researchers themselves, but also at the universities level. When it comes to scientists, they are very good and highly skilled, and we have much more engineers in Europe than there is in the US, for instance. So we have the brains that we need actually to develop a lot of great new technologies, disruptive technologies, and great initiatives and projects. We have a lot of great universities as well, but as you said, and I think the issue of mindset is that those universities have huge difficulties in accepting that something which has been initiated and launched on their premises with their own people now has to be open to the world, in a certain way. And by world, I mean investors, basically, because if you want to generate returns out of spin-offs and technological projects initiated in universities, you have to reach the market, you have to generate sales, revenues, to make profits, to become as big as possible, and at least, if not a global, at least a continental leader. And this is something that we've seen over time, which has evolved. Definitely not yet enough, but it has evolved a lot. So at EIF, for instance, I personally joined EIF 11 years ago. At that time, we were making maybe 1 or 2 investments every 18 months in tech transfer type of initiative. Over the last 5 years, it has grown a lot, and now we are investing on average 200 to 300 million euros into at least 5 to 6 new initiatives a year. Some of them are quite well known with the biggest universities. Some other ones are in geographies where you wouldn't typically expect to find great technologies, or maybe for those involved you would expect, but not for the common knowledge, I would say. So this is something which is evolving, but again, this mindset of universities is something which has to change and which has to evolve. Not only at the level of what those universities could take in terms of shareholding of the companies, but also when you set up, alongside the technology transfer office, an investment entity. Those universities cannot expect to attract private investors and investors like us if they don't give up on some of their economic rights. We definitely understand and value their contribution. We do not ask them to give up on everything. This is definitely not the case. But you have to be attractive. There's a lot of opportunities for investors. So if you're not attractive enough, you will not get either good investors or investors at all. And you cannot do everything just by yourself. The world is changing, has changed. Everything is digital. It's much easier now to develop something on a very local basis and to reach the world from day one. So you have to adapt to this and to accept this.
Thank you, David, for that perspective, and it's super important the way you positioned it, because we've been talking about the technology transfer, and at the core, the universities are I think the main stakeholder over here. And my next question is for all of you, and feel free to take the mic, whoever feels like to answer is, what are the benefits for the universities? We've been talking what they should be doing, but what would be the benefits for the universities if they start doing it more?
Shall I start? So the two main reasons I see are, one, universities in place for societal impact. Now, traditionally, of course, this has been education and research, but there's more to that. If you can commercialize technology out, the reach will be much larger than it would be if you're educating perhaps 10,000 students a year or doing research and research papers. So if you take it as the bigger picture in terms of what the university should really be doing, societal impact will happen more if something is commercialized and scaled and is used worldwide. And secondly, interestingly, and this probably doesn't apply to that many universities, it is actually an income stream. You know, if this has got right and it's happening more and more, this is money that will go back into the university coffers for charitable purposes. I mean, I don't know about the structure of other universities around the world, but in principle, it's coming back in again to improve either education and or research. So for me, those are the two reasons why getting commercialization out rather than, I mean, the opposite, of course, is what many academics want it to be open source. They don't like the idea of somebody making money out of something, and they believe that by producing something open source, i.e. not letting it be patented and just publishing it, it will get out there. My view that it happens better if investment can be found and a business can be built and it actually becomes commercial. So those are the two reasons in my view.
If I can add, exactly what Peter said. I think there might be a third reason, which has to do with attracting talent to the university. Because if you look at the US, like you see, I think something like 80% of all AI talent is now working for Google and Facebook. And everybody knows that PhDs and talent is being poached away from universities into these large tech companies. And so that trend is already well underway. And I think that universities need to find kind of a symbiotic relationship with the business world. If they are facilitating this, if this becomes like a viable option for researchers to spin out their work, it will, over the long run, attract and retain that research talent as well.
Thank you, Yoram.
Yeah, what we see in our practical work is we are running more and more R&D projects even as an association for IT companies. We are kind of, in the middle and organizing such groups. There's a large funded project in Germany. I'm not aware of if this project is in a similar stage in other European countries. It's called CIM. It's called the Centralized Innovation Management Networks for only small and mid-sized companies. So big companies can't take part on those projects. Project is just a short answer to that. What these projects are is you bring together 8 or maximum 10 various organizations, and minimum one university has to be included in this circle, in this group. And we are the organization who is managing this group over minimum 2 years, 24 months, and you get money for that, money to pay the positions to run those, managed networks. And out of those organizations there, you should bring over this 24 months R&D projects to life. That's the reason for the funding from the federal government of Germany. And I see that more and more universities are interested in that because they can afford to pay at least, research people within their own organizations. And that's why they're doing that, and they are more and more keen on doing that. 5-6 years ago, it was not the case, but now they are quite smart and take part on those projects.
Thank you, René.
Maybe another perspective I can add indeed on the benefits for the universities. One is definitely about money, and it is not a gross word. You know, this is something which helps a lot and is useful. On this front, there are two kinds of revenue streams, I would say, for universities. One, which is definitely coming out from the most successful projects, where basically we, as an investor in many, many funds across Europe in terms of venture capital, we would even expect universities not to be direct investors in the companies, but mainly through investment fund, for instance, that could be set up to invest in a broader, a larger number of companies coming out of these universities. And it can also be one university or a group of universities. So this is something important. Also the kind of potential royalties that can come. This is one aspect on the financial, from a financial perspective. But if you had also the more strategic angle, it's indeed great for a university to have someone coming from its own research labs becoming a global success, a worldwide success, for the recognition of the university, for attracting new talents, for also attracting partnerships with corporations and ensuring the sustainability of the university. And maybe the last point is about, is more a kind of political one, being your European institution, and I should maybe even say more a policy one, which would be to keep and reinforce the European roots of those companies, to avoid having them very quickly moving abroad or having the best talents moving outside of Europe. We made some research and we discussed with a lot of also of national agencies. If you look at the heads of AI for the largest US corporates, I think 90% of them are European and not from European roots, European citizens who moved to the US because they get better paid and much more perspectives than they thought they could have in Europe. This is something which has to change if you want to be a real competitor and keep our technology sovereignty.
Thank you, David, for that. And not moving away from this topic, and again, I'm going to address the question to the entire panel. How can we bridge the gap between what is today and what we would like to have in the future? What are some of the solutions in terms of how the university leadership should manage their TTOs or at the beginning, or should manage or should consider at the beginning of creating such departments in their universities?
Maybe if I may continue, a number of elements that we see is that public money is extremely useful for that. It cannot do everything, for sure. So meaning us at the European level or locally, governments, ministries cannot do everything by themselves. But we have to be here to initiate and launch some initiatives, which hopefully by following the best market practice, as I was referring to, will help attracting additional investors to support those initiatives. If you stay tuned on EIF social networks, you will see in the coming weeks and months that we will be announcing a number of technology transfer initiatives in the CEE region for some specific countries, because we have been contacted by the local authorities which wanted to do something. They knew that they had a lot of brains of, very interesting projects, but very few capital at work to support it. So we helped them structuring this in a way which was investable for us by deploying the money they would be investing in these programs, but also by hopefully attracting private investors.
Thank you.
If I may, I think one key ingredient would be sharing of knowledge somehow. So more collaboration, but also education of universities, and it's kind of a theme actually in Europe. So first, I think young people needed to be educated about the fact that it's cool to start a startup and then it's okay to fail. These kind of things where the US was already ahead, and I think that has happened to a large extent. And now two other big groups need to be educated. One are the universities. So I think, for example, Local Globe set up the Newton program, where they actually have a course for tech transfer officers to learn about VC, So that's like an excellent initiative. So reaching out to universities and offering them this knowledge transfer the other way around, basically, about how VC works and why it's beneficial. And it's very similar to kind of big public market funds that are investing in stocks. They also need to be educated about the kind of intricacies of tech investing, because there also Europe is behind on the US. So I think it's about education also.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah. So as it is when we're investing in startups, it's to do with people, in my view, and the people obviously from the top. So I've happened to have met a number of vice chancellors of universities, which is like the equivalent of the CEO of a business over the years. And one example, for instance, is York University in the UK, where nothing much was happening until the Vice Chancellor became somebody who'd been Deputy Vice Chancellor at Edinburgh University, who'd been involved in the startup scene. So he came along to York and wanted to change. So if the top of a university, which traditionally would be an academic, is not motivated, driven, understands or whatever technology transfer and scaling through commercialization of technology, it's unlikely to be driven down through the structure in the way that it would be, the same ways one can imagine with a CEO of a company. So having the right person at the top, which takes time, and it requires the university council to choose somebody like that. So that will make a huge difference. And the other person, less important but still important, is whoever is head of the technology transfer office. If you take the difference between Warwick and Cambridge, there's a big difference in the personality of that person and their willingness to drive commercialization of technology. So, in the way of most things in life, it's down to people.
Yeah, and I would like to add, Stefan, you asked what can you contribute or what helps. I can see this from a, so I would say it from a regional perspective, because we are at least a regional organization for the vibrant ecosystem of Berlin, of the German capital region. And what we are doing, this is our main business over the year, organizing a lot of events. We have 13 so-called forums, and out of those forums we bring to life 4 to 6 events per year. You can count up how many events that are. And that is the reason why those companies are organized in our association, because they want to have the chance to come together on a regular basis to various IT-related topics. And that's the effort, or the outcome of that is always bringing people together on a local base so that they can start to cooperate. And the best for our team is always if we hear afterwards, months, weeks later, from 2 different companies that they started a project together. And best is with the university, and really that happens, and that is what we are contributing to that. So yeah, again, the regional perspective from my point of view is also very important.
Thank you, René. And
maybe one last comment. Sorry on that. Yeah, Yoram was mentioning education, and I think it's also about educating researchers and scientists. I think it's quite easy to understand that when you've been working for many, many years on a specific project, you have difficulties accepting being diluted in a way when it comes to capital. You have to understand, and those people have to understand, that if you are owner of 100% of something valued at 0, it's not worth it. It's better to get 50, 60% or 40% of something valued at tens or hundreds of millions, hopefully. So it's about learning how and helping those people who have a pure technical and scientific mindset to also come to the business world and being open to make business out of it. Not that money is everything, but this will be the way to attract additional support.
Thank you, David. Apologies, I was out for a couple of seconds. My internet connection went down, but I'm back now. And I would just like to add to the overall kind of discussion on this question is that I do believe also that the education has to be a very big part of it. Since we even talked to Yoram yesterday about the stigma that the academia has around the commercial part, and that the commercial part can damage the overall research that they've done, which is not true in a core kind of perspective. We still have a couple of minutes left, and I would like to continue with a question addressed to all of you. And that is, maybe we should talk to the investors now as a maybe final question. What are some of the considerations and opportunities for the investors that would like to look into the academia research and development projects? And definitely David and you, Peter, can have a good say over here, since you have invested over time in multiple companies that have spinned out from university research and development projects. So please go ahead.
Shall I start? Yeah, okay. The two issues here tend to be one, at the very early stage, not so much at the VC stage, but the early stage, we invest in people. And the people tend to be, if they're academic, they don't necessarily tend to be good commercial people. And as we all know, you need some commercial nous in a startup team, initially to sell equity, i.e. raise investment if they need it, then to sell the product, sell the vision to early employees who are probably joining something which is very high risk. So actually having the right quality of people around. In Cambridge, there's a system for trying to marry, inverted commas, tech founders with people from the management school called the Judge. So to somehow get together that management skill, a commercial skill, alongside the technical skill. The other issue, the big issue for investors, is that, and this definitely applies to all my 17 investments, they're basically science experiments still. You know, in many cases, they won't even know at that point when they pitch to us what the market almost is. You know, we have a feeling that there should be a market for it. It's a piece of clever tech, but I've been investing about a dozen years. All my investment criteria and everything I've developed are all on my website. And one of the things I got completely wrong in the initial 3 or 4 years was because I'm a technologist, you know, I'm wearing 2 bits of wearables on my arms. I love tech, was to invest in tech rather than invest in people. And so actually it doesn't matter to me too much whether it's going to be tech that's used at that point. I'm willing to take the risk that the market will appear. However, the biggest risk of all is the fact that the science experiment might fail. You know, they may not actually be able to achieve what they're trying to do. They may not be able to scale it, etc. So getting an investor, even an angel investor, who will take super high risk because the reward can be quite high, will struggle with investing in what is basically a science experiment. That's my view.
Thank you.
Now, indeed, if you're asking about what are the benefits for investors to enter this technology transfer market, you know, VC is already one of the riskiest asset class. Tech transfer is, I think, even riskier than that. So indeed, failure rates is quite high, but this is something which is, I would say, not unexpected. Not that we are expected failures, but it happens, and this is how it works. And again, coming back to the mindset topic, someone failing does not mean that this person is bad. It means that for any reason it didn't work. It can be because of bad luck or because the technology didn't work, whatever. I think what we have to pay attention to as investors is indeed the people, what they are able to do, what they are able to bring and to disrupt on the market. Disrupting business models, disruptive technologies. What is the benefit for the investors is, first of all, depending on the category of investors as well, it can be for strategic reasons or for purely financial reasons. If you're only looking at purely financial returns, tech transfer is maybe indeed not the best option. Not that it cannot generate profits, but this is very risky. If you are, for instance, a big corporation and you want to get an access to some specific labs or universities, doing this by partnering with their tech transfer branch is quite smart, I would say, because you will, first of all, support some particular programs and projects, but also get an easy link with them when it would come to potentially make business. You can become also a client of those companies. You can find other opportunities. So there are many, many options for investors and many reasons to motivate them to enter this specific asset class. But what they have to keep in mind, again, is that the risk component is definitely high.
Thank you, David. Is there anybody that would like to add to that question? No? Okay. David, I will just have a follow-up question on to you, and then you can continue the rest of the panelists as well answering. And that is, and also my final question: what would be your the number one thing that can improve the future of technology transfer in Europe?
I think we are back to the question of mindset. That's the whole thing, mindset, but of the whole the market and mindset, which comes also with education. So if we have people which are aligned, everything at the end is a question of alignment of interest. If we are all aligned, meaning the universities, the public fund investors, the private investors, if we are aligned, meaning looking at generating returns while at the same time attaining high policy objectives and still keeping open opportunities for the future. If we're all aligned and we all agree that those objectives are definitely achievable, if we all join forces, then it will be something quite useful for the market.
Thank you, David.
I have maybe a question for David. Would it be interesting if some universities become an investor in EIF, so they have a skin in the game this way?
I would prefer them to come with us and invest into funds, into tech transfer type of funds. Our shareholders are typically, we have the European Commission, European Investment Bank, and banks such as BPI in France, KfW in Germany, that type of investors. But we are working with a lot of universities. We used to do it a lot in the UK as well. Now the B word happened, so it's a bit more complex. But definitely, we see a lot happening, specifically in the CEE region, where we are in contact with. In this case, it's more about groups of universities than individual universities, where there might not be enough opportunities to construct and build a diversified enough portfolio. But definitely, there's something happening, and we see a lot of opportunities and proposals. In Poland, for instance, only we have maybe 3 or 4 just for next year that we are looking at quite seriously.
Thank you, David. And I have somebody in my headset telling me that we have only 30 seconds. So René, Peter, and Yoram, just one word as a final, one thing that we can do to improve the future of TTO.
I would start, if you're fine with the attitude of the people at the universities at the academic level. But that changes slightly, but it does.
Thank you. Peter.
Briefly, Cambridge University has put in about 50 to 100 million into its own startups. So Cambridge University is doing that. I'd say messaging that successes are happening. So just making sure that people understand that tech transfer can be positive for not just investors, but society.
Thank you, Peter. Yoram.
Commercialization is a tool for having a bigger impact.
Thank you very much, Yoram, and thank you very much to all of you. We had a very short time to debate this subject, and definitely 40 minutes is not enough. Thank you for all the people that have joined on all platforms and have tuned into our topic. For the panelists that you are in Wrocław, I wish you good luck in networking and meeting new interesting people. Yoram, all the best, and looking forward to maybe a face-to-face event all together. Thank you very much, all.
Bye, everyone.